Welcome to another episode of the BPB podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very special guest who we just absolutely adore. Crystal Davis is here with us today. And Rory, I'm going to let you introduce her.
Well, she's the author of 2 books, On Purpose, Confidence, and Marketing. And she's personally mentored thousands of profitable authors, athletes, coaches, and network marketers, which includes Mal Pugh, who is the youngest Olympic and World Cup soccer champion ever in the world. Also, Tyler Weaver, who has won more than 44 World Martial Arts Championships, and Lauren Powers, who's a 10-time bodybuilding champion. Crystal's also been featured on the cover of Total Prestige Magazine, in Zensations Magazine, on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, and has produced $1 million sales teams, which is super impressive. She is the queen of connection. So I'd like to introduce all of you to my longtime friend, Crystal Davis.
It's so great to be here, especially with you two. Oh my gosh, we met, you guys, at a Brendan Burchard event.
That's right.
Yeah, all of us together. Yeah, we met up at a Brendan Burchard event. That was really fun.
Was that the first time you met Crystal in person, Rory?
No.
Oh, okay. First question I want to ask is, how did you two meet?
Oh, we met at an event that I was invited to. And it was a room of 76 people I'd invited. Out of those authors, when we launched our book, Rory, I actually walked in the room not knowing a soul, Dominica. And I walked in the room, and lo and behold, to the right of me was JJ Virgin, who I didn't know who she was. And then to the left of me was Asha Tyson. And to her left was Rory. And we were in the back row of the room. And I remember walking in and feeling nervous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here to become a bestseller. And I honestly only had 1 chapter of my book written. And lo and behold, I was up with Asha in the lobby that night, trying to figure out how to launch my book and become #1 in bestseller. And it was like, this heaven can wait. Rory came in the room like an angel. We're sitting in the lobby, and the next thing I know, he's helping us on the back end to launch our book. And he was so soft-spoken, and it was just a win-win. And I have to tell you, that was a defining moment in my life. He helped and he stepped in. The long story short, a month later, we only had 3 months at the time on Amazon to become #1. And I reached out to Rory, and you should see my before book that was launched. And then he took me international. I reached out to him in January, and we only had 2 months. And between he and his team, Rory's team, and launching me in less than 8 weeks in 8+ categories. And I got to go back and look at, I think it was a dozen. I actually started looking at all that leadership and study guides. And because I have my book and my workbook here that he helped produce. I was winning with the intention to do this workbook. I'm like, for my programs and all of that. And then Rory's like, oh, no. You're doing a book as well. You've got to share your story. I'm like, oh, no. I'm not sharing my story.
Mm-hmm. As Rory does.
Yeah, well, exactly. And to give a little context too, so Crystal came to this event that was designed to just make you a bestseller. And I was consulting the people who were putting on the event on the back end of how to do it. I was just kind of helping out, and I was going around, and all these people were stuck. And Crystal was one of these people just not knowing what to do. And they were just left to their own devices. So I sat down, and this was like 1 a.m. And we sat down.
Oh, it was 2 a.m.
Was it 2 a.m? And it was her and Asha were sitting down in the lobby trying to figure this out. And I'm like, I gotta help them, because they're not going to get through this. It's not going to happen. So we just sat there. I was like, okay, we're just going to sit down. I'm going to walk you through what we need to do. And we did it. So, they got the book launched, on pre-order, and you had 90 days at that point after that to get your book done and get it up on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And so what we did is when Crystal reached out, she reached out to me 30 days later and said, well, now we've got 60 days to write a book, but then she was going to do the workbook. Right. And I said, well, we got to tell your story, because she started telling me her story. And I was like, this is amazing. This story needs to be shared with the world. And we've got to position you properly so that everyone is going to know who you are and is going to know this story. And you're going to be on the front cover and all this stuff. It was.
And I was like, and I had to do the photo shoot.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to do this in 60 days. Yeah. It was nuts. But you know what?
It goes fast, doesn't it? You're like, wow. When you work with Rory and his team, you're like, wait, we can actually do all that in this short of time. And somehow magically it all comes together.
Yeah, with the right team.
Yeah.
Well,
because there's scams and ripoffs out there. And I had done my homework previously, and I've been taken to the cleaners. I've been, promises, just like this group, many promises. And actually, that's where, I was shut down, and there was a private party with this group that I need to mention where it was an investment of, they asked, do you have a line of credit on your home? I'm like, well, yeah. And all of a sudden I was like, where's this going? $50,000 to come in to really get your book up to your message to market match, become a #1 international bestseller. And that's where Rory, his heart, his team, I knew I had found not only my friend, but a business partner for life. And Dominica, and Rory, I'm just so grateful you guys are putting and doing the show and getting people's messages out to the world, because that's what Rory knows I'm so passionate about.
We sat down and, we had a conversation. I said, they actually said that. They actually said, put your house at risk. I was like, you can't do that. Like, under any circumstances, you can't do that.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And then Rory, the interview, oh my God, bawling. And because for your audience, everybody out there, Dominica, some of us, we have a past, and I did not want to share that story, and I could not put pen to paper. That was the piece that Rory, we stayed up. Oh my God, it was like 4 hours, and he interviewed me, and I was bawling, and I was going through this and it really opened up, and it really started the journey. That was a defining moment as well, where I know I have a gift for drawing stories out of other people. And I know that's where Rory and I really connected, and with his team in getting my story out, because my 911 story was one of the most defining moments in my entire life, 14 years ago.
Would you mind sharing some of that? Because this, I appreciate you saying all these kind things, but this is about you. I want our audience to get to know you a little bit. And that was the story that really connected us together.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of it was, I want you to imagine, it was my 9-year-old daughter, Kylan, that had to sneak to the basement to call 911 to have her father taken away in handcuffs. And because he had been abusing me. And it was not only verbally, but I went to call 911, ripped the phone out of my hand, and I was screaming. I was going to run upstairs because my 2 daughters were upstairs getting ready for bed, for my 9-year-old, my 12-year-old at the time. And I remember in that moment when he came in the home and he wanted to chat about, the divorce and everything going on. And he was in a suit, and he's like, I have control here. And I went to walk upstairs. I said, we're not discussing this. He grabbed me by the arm and threw me down the stairs. I landed in the landing of my home. And I thought, oh my God. And I went to grab the phone and rip the phone. And I'm screaming to my daughters to call 911, call 911, call 911. We go running upstairs. They're ballistic. My daughters are bawling. They're screaming. He was grabbing the phones and throwing them in the tub. And like, he's like, you don't have control here. I do. And no one's calling the 911. And then ding dong, the doorbell rings. And my daughter, Kylan, had snuck to the basement to my office to call the police. And 3 cops showed up at the door. And I have to tell you guys, when you're in that moment, I've lost control of the situation, I was like, never again will I allow anyone to violate. I mean, that bravery of my daughter saved my life. And it's been such a defining moment in my life, and I've had to retrace and heal. I had lost my own identity, you guys, and I knew I'd appear in court the next day with him and his parents. He spent the night in jail, and the truth will set you free, but we've got to forgive. And I've hired so many coaches, and that's a whole nother story. Tony Robbins and Donnie Epstein and Mary Morrissey, all of this transition to heal myself. And who was I going to be and take responsibility for, my actions as well. And I knew I had to be strong, and because it was, oh my gosh, 2 months. They wanted no contact with him and my daughters and myself. And I went to that court because I thought it was too severe. I did not want to rip their father away from them. So it was a lot of healing for myself. And I had to pick myself up and find my own identity. And that's a whole nother story. This was 14 years ago. So yeah, that was a huge defining moment in my life.
Yeah. When we met, I mean, you were still shut down.
I was.
And that was only, 5.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And when we went through and you shared your story and we put it in the book, I mean, that was the thing that really, it allowed you to detach from it so that you could become who you are now. Because I mean, you can tell the story and you're not that same person that you were. It doesn't control you.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And yeah, it's been a journey because actually Alana was 11, 9 and 11, because they're 21 months apart to the day. But yeah, and it's been this journey of finding my self-identity and looking in the mirror and who I am. That was part of the book. And these courses I've developed and finding your voice, because I was shut down. He was like, no one gives a, I won't say it, a blank about what you have to say and who you can help. And I was very shut down emotionally and physically. It's the more emotional part, though, that it's that part that is the self-healing with the brain, the meditation, and all the processes I've gone through over the last 14 years that's really gotten me to where I'm at today. And I had to be there for my daughters and be there as a strong mother and share with it that no man in your life you never deserve to be treated that way. Because there were so many nights of the crying and going to sleep. And yeah. So I am closer with my daughters, and my 2 daughters are my why. They're now 23 and 25, Alana and Kylan. And I live and breathe to help women and men. A lot of men are abused, domestic violence, to get their voice out and be heard. And it's been a healing process for me, and working with the elite coaches in the world and having to let go of those friends that are, what are you doing? Especially when I went to fly in to do my book, they're like, what are you doing? You're going to become a bestseller? Really? You're going to do that? you guys, it's been a process, as you know. You've got to go through the hill and surround yourself around those experts and people that are doing what you want to do. And when Rory had this track record and these coaches, you know, Tony Robbins and Donnie Epstein and Leeson and Roger Love to find my voice. I mean, I went to Roger Love, the #1 voice coach, to find my voice as a speaker. I don't want to sing like you, Dominica, who has a beautiful voice. And Rory with his, you know, guitar and playing. And it was to find my voice on stage. And that story, the 911 story, Rory, as you know, it's taken me until I met Joel Bauer to actually express it in person and on stage, because that was just in my book. And now to come out and do it on video, to do lives, to speak in front of audiences, that has been my huge transformation in the last 5.5 years.
Wow, Crystal. First of all, thank you for going back down memory lane a little bit and just sharing with our audience about your 911 story, because that is very intense. But also, while you are speaking about it, like Rory said, it's very apparent now that that's not who you are, right? It's just part of your story. And in this beautiful way, through that, you've helped thousands of people. Yes. And so your book, which is just stunning, for those of you watching on YouTube, the cover is outrageously beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Authentic Driven Life. Mm-hmm. And it's 12 ways to authentically shift into your highest self.
Incredible.
And and it's actually between the book, which is 150 pages, and 250 pages that Rory and I in 60 days. I'm very proud of that.
Good. You know, something that you said, which I wanted to touch on just really briefly, you said Rory was so soft-spoken. And I totally agree that, yes, Rory can be soft-spoken at times, but it's when he is so soft-spoken is when he really does get that story out of us, right? You listen like on a master level of just, okay, let's talk that through in such a way where it's so authentic, right? Rory, almost like it's your purpose, not to put words in your mouth, but your purpose to truly listen and to get out the best possible story and how is it going to connect and help other people. And so I love the fact, Crystal, that both you and I've had that experience with Rory and his team. So we can really talk about that, because all the time, like every episode, I'm always like, do a book. Here's why. Like, it's life-changing. But the fact that both of us actually have, now people don't think I'm just crazy and just talking him up, because it's true. You know,
it is true. Well, our book is our hook.
Yeah.
And our book gives us not only the credibility, but the authority in what we do and our gifts. And it makes us, I mean, I've really dove in deep to what our gifts are. And when you go through this process, right, with Rory and the team, and it happened in 60 days, and my daughters were like, I was closed up and they're like, what are you doing, mother? I'm like, don't bother me, you know. And then it was, you know, Mary Morrissey and getting the testimonial too, and going through, because as I was healing and going through my journey and finding my voice and the confidence, Mary, and just coming to her and asking her to endorse my book, you know, it was a learning process too, because in order for our audience, for those of you out there, your audience, Dominica and Roy, you come up with the quotes you want them to say, and then they choose because you've been in their program or process. And I was like, oh my gosh, she gave me, because it was chapter 10. It was design. It's your dream, you know, defining your moment. I don't remember. I need to reread my book.
Good homework.
That was 5.5 years ago. 5 years ago. Yeah, that I wrote it. So anyway, and then I reached out to Tony Robbins, because I was working with Tony Robbins in his Core 100 with Chloe Madonis and Mark and Magla Pasha. And Chloe Madonis is like one of the top therapists in the world, you guys. Tony picked her for a reason. She coaches him.
Right.
And I reached out to the team, and Mark Pay, who is Mark and Magala, his wife, they are the ones that actually, Mark was like, Crystal, we got to work with you in person and then you'll get Tony's endorsement. So I'm going to work on that.
Oh, good. I imagine that it's not far away. I'm
Exactly.
certain of that. It's not far away. Crystal, let me ask you this. Were you always like queen of connections? Because you are just the most bubbly, vivacious. I mean, I met you and you were like, no, we don't shake hands. We hug. Like, okay. Back when you could give hugs, right? And it was just, I remember we hugged. It was like, oh, I can already tell we are really going to like each other. This is going to be super sweet connection.
Dominica, I just got a download of chills. Yeah, being a network marketer, direct sales leader, I mean, for almost 30 years. I mean, I love to go to events. I love live events and I love connecting. And it's all, Dominica, about connecting with your audience, as you know, but connecting one-on-one. And it's building relationships, because it's the last chapter of my book. Relationships are what matters most. And the relationship, not only with yourself, you've got to love and have that confidence within yourself. And it all starts right here in the mindset. But then, because you can't be good to others. How can you serve others unless you know and love yourself first? And that's not a selfish thing. And this is something that's taken me over the last 5.5 years to really, but yeah, when we met, I mean, I feel energy. Donnie Epstein is like, Crystal, you have a gift. And I love to connect people with their specialty, like Rory with his books and helping, he has 100% success rate. You with your marketing and your expertise in marketing and the chocolates and all of this. And when I get to know, it's always know, like, and trust, get to know that person on a deep level. And because I have been taken so many times in my life, and it's cost me $500,000, Dominica. And, and Rory knows this. And it's connecting with those people that want to make a difference in this world, because nothing lights me up more than helping people get their message out in the world, their story out in the world, to make an impact. And because someone is waiting for you. And a lot of people don't know that. So yeah, I love to connect people. I love to help everybody else shine, because when they shine, I shine.
Absolutely. And it's obvious. I mean, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Well, yeah. And that's what I love. And you built a whole business around connecting people, because you just build relationships and you go, hey, you need help here. I know this person here. Right. And, you need help. Oh, yeah, I know this person. And you just connect people.
Your memory is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And for my age, yeah, I'm late 50s. I'm a lot older than you.
You have an incredible memory. I mean, even just talking briefly, I mean, so far you've mentioned like 5 different things that you knew about me that I didn't even remember about myself. I mean, so it's pretty incredible.
Well, part of it, it's like people want to be seen and they want to be heard. And we all want to be loved and adored. And you know what? But they're out there. When I started doing video and getting, doing the videos, I know I'm going to have haters. Not everyone's going to like me. You know what? So be it. I've learned to let it go, move on, because someone else is waiting. Yeah. And you know what? Those are the people I want to work with. I want to work with the people that have a big heart, that have a message. And like I wrote in my book, like Rory and I shared, it's mission 1 million lives. I want to shift and touch 1 million lives. And guess what, you guys? It's going to go beyond millions. Yeah. 1 million. It already has. And just since I wrote my book. And this is the part I want everybody's message to get out in the world. Their story needs to be heard. their business, their process, because this is how we build our business. It's how I built my courses, my programs through the workbook. And this, you guys, it's a no-brainer to me now. It's like, oh, wow, you've got to share your story. What is your process? What's your business? Now let's take it out to the world, right? And develop your course, your programs. I have 17 plus programs now.
Wow.
Since I wrote the book. So yeah, it's a lot. But my main one is voice to visibility. And that was the defiant. And I've had live events and people signing up. And it was really Mal Pugh and Tyler with the purpose part. What is your why? What is your purpose for being on this planet? Because so many people walk around and they don't even know their purpose. And especially during this pandemic and what's going on in the world, a lot of people, there's a lot of mental health, and it will surpass and go beyond cancer. And you guys, I'm so passionate about helping people define themselves and find their why and their purpose and get it out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Mal a little bit, Mal Pugh, and what she's been able to do. And I mean, you've been coaching her for years now.
Yeah. Mal and my youngest daughter, Kylan, very dear friends through high school and played soccer. I mean, you guys, the awards, and oh my God, it was nuts. And I remember her sitting in my kitchen, and I had just written my book, and I gave her my book, and she didn't know if she wanted to go pro. She's like, Crystal, I don't want to go pro. I just want to be like the girls. And I want to go to college, and she wanted to go to UCLA, and she did go to UCLA for a bit, but she's like, I just want to be normal and I don't want to go pro. And she read my book and she came back and she was like, your book and the confidence that it instilled, it made me realize I need to go pro. And now she went pro, and obviously she can write her own ticket. I mean, she's been endorsed, the youngest player ever in the Olympics. She scored goals, and then they won the World Cup in 2019. She's the youngest player in history.
Incredible.
And not only endorsed by Nike and Neutrogena and BMW, and I can name Secret. I mean, it is coming out of the woodwork. She can write her own ticket now, but she was like, the confidence that you instilled in me, and having those chats and coaching, with her, it lights up my whole world seeing where she's at today.
You changed her life.
Yeah, it's changed her life. And I mean, yeah, it's magnetic. I love that I can help, especially young girls, because of what my girls have gone through, and helping them make decisions, and the boys, and athletic. Okay. And brings me to my story back in the day, raised by a single mom. And, that's a whole nother story before the 911 story, is I was a competitive ice skater.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I worked with and trained with 4 Olympic gold medalists, and they were all trained by Carla Fossey, Dorothy Hamill, Scott Hamilton, John Curry, and Robin Cousins. So it goes back to coaching, right? I was 11, 12, up to 14. I went to the Junior Olympics. So that's why I get consistency, persistency, showing up, being the best version of yourself. That's why I love coaching and high ticket coaching. And this is why I attract the athletes like Mal Pugh and like Tyler Weaver, right, Rory?
Yeah. I mean, Tyler Weaver, he's won more than 44 world championships in martial arts, right?
Yeah, martial arts. He was on Oprah as a kid, and his parents actually chose me. They came up, I was having this big, when I was selling my house to get out of that negativity, that's a whole nother story. But so they walked up and I met the parents chose me to work with their son. And he was struggling in relationships, his personal relationships. And he'd been on Oprah and martial arts, and he was diagnosed at 21 during the coaching process with ADD and autism. And his younger brother had it. So they tested him, and sure enough, he had it. You guys, he's been in movies, it warms my heart.
Well, yeah, and you helped them get in movies, right? You filmed their videos, their audition videos, right?
Yes, yeah. We did. I'm like, you guys have a script? Yeah. And they're like, no. And I set up my camera that Rory's like, you need the lighting. And all this was, back when Rory and I were working, we set up here and they were pitching to do movies, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So Tyler and Riker, his brother, he won a championship just in the year before, 2019. So his brother is following in his path and all of this. So I worked with both of them, coaching them, and nothing lights me up more. And then, of course, as you know, Rory, Lauren Powers.
Yeah, which we did her book as well. And you helped her launch live in person at her event, right?
Wow.
Yeah, her women's empowering event. And that was awesome because I was able to transfer Rory and what you do and be there in front of a live audience and help to launch the book and have everyone whip out their phones and buy her book. And then she moved into 98 categories and was it 12 countries, Rory?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nothing. And speaking on her stage, see, that was live. And so I started finding my voice, and this has taken me down a path and Lauren was struggling to let everything out as well. And I'm like, oh no, you got to write everything. And boy, does she have a story, right, Rory?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hers is intense too.
Yeah. Very intense. And that's what empowers me. And recently, as Rory knows, I've been on with a number of students through his program, and I'm finding we all have a story. We all have a past. We all have a defining moment in our life. And I know I've been put on this planet to help people to find their voice and get their message out to the world, to make a difference.
Yeah. And you've been connecting all these people together, bringing them all together.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're making it happen, Crystal.
Yeah, let's do this together.
What would, I guess, be the number one strategy you could share with everyone that would help people lead to making authentic, long-lasting connections?
Oh, it is. Well, let me ask you guys this. How many of you are generating $30,000 to $1 million a year just by turning on your little tiny pocket camera and saying something from the heart, and then having an audience respond and invest in you? What would that be worth? This has been the defining moment. It's voice to visibility. It's video, you guys. Video has changed my life. This is where I've been interviewed on Facebook. I've gone live. It was my mentor, Joel Bauer, who challenged me to go live. And I went live one time, and I was an affiliate. I've become an affiliate digital marketer is what's happened. I'm not marketing strategist through video. Yeah. And as soon as I went live, you guys, it's finding your voice and speaking from the heart, just going on live, hitting that button and sharing from your authentic self, your story. Talk about one thing, stay focused on one thing. And then you always have a call to action at the end of every video. Where do you want to lead them? Because it led me to thousands and thousands of dollars. And you guys, I have people coming out of the way. Will you be on my podcast? Will you be on my TV, where you speak on stage live, it has opened up my whole world. So it's going live. And I know for a lot of people, it's gaining that confidence and from within. And like Rory, you couldn't even get my story out, let alone go on video. Are you kidding me?
And now look at you.
We sat down. I said, you need to create a video and a funnel and a mini course and all this stuff. And you were like, nope. nope.
And I had the teleprompter. I had to read. And do you think I've shifted a little bit even over the last 3 years, Rory?
Oh yeah.
I was.
Yeah. I mean, we worked on it, and then you worked with Joel on it, and gradually you've just improved. And I mean, you see the result of it, right now. I mean, we're just here, we're having a conversation,
right?
And you get there, and all of us have been through that, right?
It's so true. And you know what? I think another big tip for everybody, and Dominica knows this, it's just a conversation. And don't make things up, because people will see right through you, right through that. Isn't it so true?
It's really very sound advice. Yes. Yeah. Just be you. Yeah.
I think
from the heart.
And this is why, I guess I'm so against the lifestyle marketing, why people do that style and then say that that's the only way that you can market, because then it's not something that most people can replicate.
Yeah.
Right.
And why I teach strategies that, everyone can go out and utilize. Because if the only way that you teach is lifestyle marketing, then what ends up happening is people feel like they have to go out and do that.
Right.
But if they haven't achieved that, they can't do that. And then they try and fake it.
Right.
Right. And we talked about that, where you can go and rent a Lamborghini or whatever for a couple hours for a few $100s, but that's not being authentic, and that's not being real with people. Right. No. You can rent a fake airplane for $700, I think it is, for an hour. And looks like you're in a private airplane, but it's just a movie set, right? Right. But and people do that, but it's not real, and it doesn't create the type of connection. It doesn't show you actually how to market properly. It just it creates an illusion. And when we can sit here and we can have a real conversation, we can make a real connection.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's what I'm about. I love to connect, convey, and convert our audience, right? I'm always about, that's part of video. And I'm always about the 3 words, discover, develop, deliver your message to the world. Discover your purpose, develop your unshakable, confident you to deliver your message to the world, because that's my big process, and nothing lights me up more than increasing our visibility and catapulting, our credibility to make an impact on our audience and income. And that's what this is all about. Marketing, right? In business.
Authentically.
Authentically, and being real and from the heart. What's interesting is I feel authentically that word has become very powerful in the last couple of years. And here we did the book 5.5 years ago. And my original book was The Driven Life. And Rory's, I'm like, I wanted authentic in there. And Rory's like, oh, we're putting authentic in there.
Very
good.
The people who will go unnamed were trying to say that you had to not have authentic in there. And I was like, you absolutely have to have authentic in there, because that's who you are.
Yeah. It is. And I have to bring up this magazine that Dominica was on the cover. And this really opened me up to the whole interview, you guys. And Rory is the key to this. And this is a great high-end magazine.
Yeah, Total Prestige Magazine is amazing. It's the connections too. I don't know if you've experienced, but the connections too, when I did my cover, that I'm still getting, 2 years after, where people are finding it online. It's like, wow. I mean,
that's what got Joel's attention when I posted this. I didn't know Rory, and then I put them together. And he was like, your article, Crystal, I got to know you on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And that lit me up too. You're right, Dominica. It's all about the connections. And I did mine before you did your, like 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still, when I post it, and that's the other thing, everybody repurpose your content. That is huge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You never know who's looking out there.
Repost it. Yeah. Reuse it. You know, I talk about this is that you can take parts of your book and post it on social media. A year later, you can make that same post.
Yep.
Because you have a new audience.
Yep.
Exactly.
All the time. Yep. Exactly.
Exactly.
Because who has time to rewrite it? You've already written it. Just go back and take it.
Yeah. You've done the work, right?
Yeah.
Utilize the information
Exactly.
that's there. So I also want to ask you another question. So if someone is looking to make a business relationship or a joint partnership win-win, how should they go about that?
They should go about going to my crystaldavis.club. crystaldavis.com is club, CLUB, and everything. There's free resources, free gifts, and they can get on my calendar right there. Reach out to me, make an appointment. I'm here for you. I'm here. And this is a thing. I had 3 people on LinkedIn today linking, and I've already have 2 appointments, and I'm pretty booked next week and the next couple of weeks, but they're on my calendar. So go to crystaldavis.club. It's my website. It's my free books. It's my free gifts. I have many, many gifts. I have free webinars and Messenger to Millions. There's a lot of training, a lot of gifts to get your message out to the world. You don't even, if you want to connect with me, though, that's the key. And I don't come cheap. I'm offering 15 minutes, a consult. But I'm here for you. I'm here for your audience. And I want everyone. There's nothing that lights me up more than getting your message out to the world.
Well,
thank you for offering that, because I know your time is very, very limited.
Yes.
And valuable.
Yeah, and very valuable.
All of our time's valuable, right?
Yeah.
Our time is the most key component of everything. We've got to value our time, and it's so important. So thank you both for taking the time and reaching out to me to be on your show. I love your show, your podcast, and let's do this. Let's get it out to millions and beyond, everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank
Download
you so
it.
much.
Download it and share it.
Thank you, Crystal. You are such a light and a joy, and it's so wonderful to have you here with us. And for all of you watching at home or in your office, I hope that you can see just how bubbly Crystal is, because she's truly lovely. And with that, you guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.